Hey traders, this is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end of day market recap for Monday, March 6th. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. You could read the full risk disclaimer right there. So a couple of themes of the day with this price action that we saw today. The way things kind of shook out over the day, we went from opening up decently. We had, really decent outperformance in the Qs today. And if you looked at what was outperforming for, I'd say about the first half of the day, it was a lot of the FANG stocks, internet names, because I think you had a couple catalysts for the day. You had Apple, which was being rated by Goldman. I don't know why they didn't have a rating on them previously. It's actually, from what Bloomberg said, they didn't have a rating on Apple for 6 years. So in any event, that was one catalyst for the day. You had Meta, Snap act well again today on the back of this TikTok news that is still kind of hanging out in terms of whether or not people are really going to the government is going to ban TikTok or not. But so all the FANG stocks, and besides that, they all actually were doing pretty well from what I saw. So it was one of those days where those names were outperforming. Software, solar was also doing pretty well. So a lot of growth, bigger tech and growth areas of the market. But one of the things too that we just kind of realized in the beginning of the day was that the small caps weren't participating at all. And that was a pretty decent divergence. And they went from bad to worse. They finished down 1.5% for the day. So that's not good. And again, when we were noticing how well the Qs were doing at the beginning of the day, IWM was down, the Qs at one point in the beginning of the day were up about 1%, and IWM was down about 30 basis points. And that just continued to get worse and worse as the day progressed, with Qs only finishing up 10 basis points and IWM finishing down about 1.5%. Microcaps also down 1.9%. So that's the main, I'm kind of getting around to the main theme of the day, which was poor breadth. I mean, really bad. And what's tricky about that performance in some of those FANG names is that they have such a big weight in the indices that they can often mask what's really kind of going on for the day. Now, does this overall make sense to see that no one really wants to be super aggressive going into tomorrow, which everybody knows at this point Powell is speaking. He's got a 2-day testimony in front of Congress. Is there a chance that he slips something in about what the economy is doing and, the possibility of more rate hikes, or something that kind of hints about what they're looking to do for the next meeting on March 22nd? It could. I mean, he could say that, but, I think he's really, tomorrow and Wednesday will really be about him answering questions in front of Congress. Half the time the questions are really off base, or really, these, I hate to say it, I'm sorry to be a little bit political here, but the types of questions, the quality of questions that these Congress men and women tend to ask are really just not good questions. They don't even seem to know half the time what Powell does. So that's kind of more or less what I think we're going to get. But it just kind of shows, if you look at the calendar, right, there was this article written by, I think it was Bloomberg, talking about how the next 13 days are going to be, there's going to be a lot of information that comes out, right? So for example, we get Powell on, tomorrow and Wednesday in front of Congress. And then, of course, we're going to get the Friday's payrolls. So then everybody's going to be glued to that. And then after that, of course, we're going to get the CPI, which was on the 14th, and then the PPI thereafter. And then based on that, one of the takeaways that I've heard Powell say is that he's going to be data dependent. So, maybe there will be some guidance in terms of what happens there. But this is the kind of situation that we're in. And why this market is kind of just has been and is difficult right now is because really when you've got this many rate hikes that could be coming, or that have come, and people are looking for when the Fed is going to actually stop raising interest rates, you've got a very complicated picture. So that's why we continue to kind of see, either depending on what area of the market you're looking at. So for example, S&P, which we'll go over the technicals, which kind of just balance out what I've said here, right? And we're right at the bottom of value. We got, for the day, we got rejected there. That's 40.57. That's only 3 handles away, but that has to be broken into for us to kind of continue and get back into this range. But just like I think that we're going to see a lot of this year, unless something really changes. And what I mean by this is 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and right now, like a half a step forward, but overall, the overall trend is sideways, and it's going to be, you're going to find that there's these tricky days that you want to be a seller into. So I think that's what today basically was. If you look at the cues for the day, we almost got to this 1 hour VPOC, which I thought it was possible for us to get up to. Right. And I actually was playing this, you could see through my charts that was the one trade that I put on like in the very beginning of the day, and I took it off very early, around 10:30. I just didn't think that we were going to get a trending day after what we saw towards the end of last week. I even wrote this in here. Sorry, I just wanted to cover what breadth looks like because I think that's important. But I even said, around 11:30, I said, I'm not trading much this morning as I don't feel small caps. I don't like that small caps are not participating and down this much. And if you look at my trade blotter for the day, I didn't do much for the rest of the day. I tried a little bit of playing small caps, which we could look at this chart. Because I think this set up really nice for us on Friday. This was a nice long trade, but I thought maybe in here we might see some support, right? And also at the 5-minute value area. But again, this is why you have to be very disciplined in this market. I thought this was the move all through the session till about 1:30, and I try to trade in here, thinking that maybe we bounce and kind of retrace, but that wasn't the case. And actually, I think we did take out this VPOC down here. So it's something that I'll be watching. We had some nice outperformance. You could see I've also got a trend line drawn here for IWM, but we got rejected trying to take that, really turn higher. And now we'll see if this 188.44, right, that might set up for another day trade. But again, that's kind of the market that we're in right now, is that the indices are setting up for some days for day trades. And then everything else is a little bit more challenged, a little bit more difficult. I mentioned breadth, right? So that's a big thing. That was one of my questions that I had coming into this week, was Friday's market breadth was really strong. And just make sure I've got, what did I do with this? I think I have to go back a little bit further, right? But we are still, so using the McClellan Summation Index, this is something that we go over every weekend. We also talk about it in the trading room, right? We've seen, since the beginning of, after I think the first week of February, we saw this bearish crossover, right, with a 10-day moving average, right? You can put any moving average that you like on here, by the way. You can make quicker decisions if you use a 5-day moving average. You can make less decisions if you put a 50-day moving average. But I use the 10-day, and if you just want to look at the signal line, or the summation index line, right, that started to kind of move down. And since then, right, it's been nothing but breadth, really decreasing, right? And again, just like today, if you look at the left of your screen, you could see even with those stronger FANG names, right, the breadth was not good for the day. So again, it's about statistics. When you look at this and you say, how many names are going up versus how many names are going down. And if there's more names every day that are going down, right, that you're in a much more difficult environment. So if you want to look at the raw data, you can do that. But you know, in the Dow, there were 17 decliners, 13 advancers. In the S&P, there's 325 decliners versus 177 advancers. And in the NASDAQ, you had 2,005 decliners versus 866 advancers. Right, that's a tough market to deal with, right? And you know, the saying that we use all the time is either when there's more names going up versus down, the wind is at your back as a stock picker, versus when you have a day like this, where you've got more decliners versus advancers and a lot more decliners, then the wind is in your face and you're really going against kind of the current trying to pick stocks. So I try not to do it. Again, it's not always straightforward at the beginning of the day because the breadth deteriorated as the day progressed. But you know, you could see here how this looks on our indicator. Right, here's where we opened, and again, it wasn't strong breadth that we saw in the beginning of the day, but it just got progressively worse, right? And so that's, you know, that'll need to kind of change. So you know, what I covered in this video is just, you know, that we've got a lot of events. So you know, it's one of the things that you have to just kind of realize as a trader right now is that it's a noisy tape. It's a noisy macro tape. And, you know, and then the market leaders kind of took the day off today, right? The market leaders are not the FANG stocks, right? Those are your industrials, right? Your steel names, and those names, you know, push back pretty decently today. Again, they needed to do that. You know, XME, for example, last week was up 8% last week. That was your worst performing group today, I think, on the back of some news from China. But you know, still, even with down 3%, if you look at last week and today, they're still up 5%. So, you know, that group, you know, they need to kind of come in and correct from time to time. One group that, you know, in the middle, right? I talked about, you know, what was outperforming today, solar, FANG, software, right? One area that started strong, but did not finish strong was the semis, right? And that's kind of concerning. You know, again, one day is not a trend, but I would really like to see this group kind of, if it starts strong, you know, continue with strength, not fade. I mean, look at the XSD ETF. That was up almost, you know, about 0.5% or so this morning, and it finished down 1.5%. So that's not good. You know, the one silver lining here is that we didn't break any support. I would watch this 200 level, and maybe we can go from there. But yeah, and one name I'm watching in particular, NVIDIA, which took out this upside VPOC. Right, I've talked about this this level of at 214s. This was, sorry, it's wrong level. This was right around 242, right? So I've talked about that level a couple times, and I wanted to see what would happen once we got up there. These VPOCs that are above price, they are usually places where you want to take profits, not add new trades. Why? Because they're overhead supply, right? And you could see the last time you know, there was one time where we took this VPOC out here, right, and we completely faded, right? Another time we took it out, we went a little bit higher, right, and then it ended up going lower. So this is going to be a big test, whether or not we can get back, whether or not price can get back above that level. Even if it comes back in to 227, to test that's not horrible. You just don't want to see what we saw back in here, which was a takeout and completely, you know, a move back the other way. So that'll be something to watch, just to go over a couple other single stocks, because I did add one name. But SMCI, which I got long last week, notice it's just kind of hanging out here. Nothing wrong with this at all. So watch 95.91 for this stock. And I like the digestion up here on low volume. So like I said, I'm long. I may add if it can push, you know, out of this little range here, but that's something that I'll be watching. And I think even if this market gets a little bit of strength, we could see this one get going a little bit. All right. And STNG was a name I added today. Hammer bar on the 20-day moving average. All right. That's it, guys, for today's video. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.